Chapter excerpt from Quick with Flies. Ray's body hanged not far from the road I took each morning on the way to work. I had everything there to remind me of him. Only when the present has finally passed does it become a memory, which owns a density unto itself and a thickness depending on the meaning it brought forth. Our consciousness is hollow, and only the past is certain, although I know some might disagree with that. The present was formless and loose, easily blown by any gale, and ever-changing. But our memories, with the most weight, lay deep in the bottom, stuck there in excess. Our memories went deep, and when we died, the earth was there to inherit them. I had felt I lost everything when Ray died, but to anyone else he was just another Negro. His death was regarded as any. They called it lots of things, like circumstance or misfortune, but never murder. Meaning most folks regarded the killing of a black man as nothing more than a kind of lesson, demonstrating the need to protect. But who were they protecting? Mostly Southern women like Norma Ray from being the victims of rape? They had to make up something, create a delusion of danger, anything to keep in their minds just so they could make what they did seem right. But why not that word? Why not call it murder over any other? The answer I did not need wonder. And after all this had been done, I'd see Ray's body each day on the way to work, naked from the bottom and still blindfolded. His penis had been cut off and his mouth remained dry and opened. Quickly this decomposing would get the best of him, where soon all he would be was a skeleton. With a skeleton, it don't matter what color your skin was. The only time it doesn't make any difference is when it becomes too late, because when a man is dead, nothing but bone is left of him. His groin was infested with maggots. They would eat away his identity, but not before they found his eyes. I'll tell you that old Raymond might have had maggots in his torso that would soon spread throughout his limbs, but those men had it in their souls. I tried to pray for Ray and ask God for something, even if all I could get would be a little peace of mind. And I wanted to believe, but the more I prayed, the more I was ignored, and eventually became the less I wanted to do with him. God, that is. I felt so damn sad for once arguing with Ray over one of the books we shared. I had liked it and he didn't. I have to say that right now I'd tell him I thought the book stunk if it meant I could have my friend back. A few weeks later, I passed his body that no longer belonged to him. His toes hung there, attached to burnt feet, and legs that had rotted away with the August sun, and the smell was enough to knock a man to his grave. The flies had hatched inside of him, and were swarming all around his body, refusing to leave. They circled his feet, his head, his fingers that dangled with crusts of dried blood. And in my attempt to rid them away, I swung out my arm to do so, but they only flew back, gathering together in their solitary carnival, flying and buzzing their thousands of wings, staring their thousands upon thousands of eyes upon me in one possessive glance. Ray belonged to them now. He had been formed by them, bloated and swelled by the sun, his eyes half-eaten by some scavenger, his face too sunken in to hold the blindfold any longer, which now lay loosely around his blistered neck. There were armies of them, forming into one large figure, the figure of a man hanging from a tree, thrashing their wings together in furious ceremony, loud and hot like voodoo in the streets, their bodies doubling and tripling into one another, becoming the corpse that hanged before me, taking on a half-human shape, an image pouring into the open air, and under the leaves crusted in blood. It stayed there a moment, in all its rage of eyes, and then dissipated into their individual masses, flying about in their fancy. To my surprise, the flowers that lay below Ray's feet had not died, but bloomed. I just didn't know how any life could find the courage to arise amid such circumstances. But still it always does. It keeps trying. Such tenderness thrives despite being surrounded by suffering. I didn't know why we had to suffer so much if our lives were so insignificant by comparison. A man must bring meaning to his life to make it so, or else it becomes meaningless without it. It had to be earned. Ray brought meaning to his. Maybe that alone might mean something. Word had gotten around that Norma Ray had committed suicide not long after Ray was killed. I had heard this from Daisy, who had heard this from someone else. I was worried about Daisy for a while, like she would have done the same, ending up feeling all alone like Norma Ray. But something in her made her keep on going, just like those flowers resting under Ray's half-decomposed feet.